All right, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Town of Rhinebeck Zoning Board of Appeals, meeting for October 18th. The first matter we have is minutes, but they're in production because Gretchen is doing a whole bunch of other things, so we'll take care of them next time. So I don't think there's any announcements. We do have two new applications. The first new application is David LaPlante. So Mr. LaPlante, what we do here is we have you come up to the microphone and give your name. And we have Steve over here who is filming everything. And really what we want you to do now is just tell us what you want to do. We'll go through your application. If the application is sufficient for us to consider, we'll accept it. If not, we won't, but you know, most of the time we accept them, and if there's something to be added, we'll accept them subject to. So if you just tell us what you want to do.
I'm David LaPlante, and quite simply, I would like to add an extension to my existing garage. The portion on the leftmost portion there is the extension. The garage is an attached garage, which I'm adding on to. Would like to add.
Kim, and maybe okay.
So that's the existing, and then that's the proposed.
There,
And then we'll show you the east elevations that were provided to us.
Okay.
So the area variance is needed is, because it's an accessory structure, it has to be within 75% of what the minimum side yard setback is. In this case, it's in the RC5, which is, the principal structure in RC5 has to be a 50-foot side yard setback. 75% of 50 feet is 37.5 feet. And what's being proposed is 22 feet 8 inches, so variance is being requested for 14 feet 9 inches. And also for accessory structures, they shall not comprise more than the floor area of the principal dwelling or 1,500 square feet, whichever is more restrictive. And so the proposed addition is 1,628 square feet, so the variance is for 128 square feet for the accessory structure.
I don't have any questions, but I'll defer to my board members if they have any questions about the application.
I have no question.
Seems pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
It's very straightforward, and it's, the application is nicely done. We don't always have that luxury, so thank you. We really don't have any questions of you. It's pretty self-explanatory as to what you want to do, and the variances are not unusual. So I assume you're going to keep the same color scheme and all that kind of stuff?
Yes.
Everything.
And is it going to be the same kind of style for like the siding, kind of like this?
yes, from the front, it's just going to look like a continuation. The plane of the roof will be the same plane as the existing roof. It'll extend further up because it's going to be set back a little bit further too, but all the exterior and shingles will be as close as I can get.
Right. Well, I'll make a motion that we accept the application. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? None? Okay, we've accepted the application because it is a fairly simple request, and you've done a nice application here. What happens next is that we will schedule a public hearing so that the folks around you, if there are, but the folks around you will have an opportunity to come and ask you questions if they wish at the next public hearing, or at the next meeting, which I believe is November 15th.
Yes.
Okay. Can you be here on the 15th?
Yes.
Okay.
Is that also a Wednesday?
Oh, yeah, it's always the third Wednesday of the month, yeah.
Okay, yes.
So, and what you'll do is you'll go through the same thing that you did here, only there may be a couple of people in the back. There's one person there.
I'm your neighbor.
Okay. So we'll see you on the 15th, and the neighbors get an opportunity to obviously go over the application when you have questions, et cetera. So, all right.
All right, super.
Thank you very much for your time.
Well, thank you for having me.
All right. Now we have some cleanup we have to do. Under seeker, the recommendation is that this is a type 2 action, which I believe it is, under 617.512. That seems right. This is a fairly standard.
Yep, it's for
Application.
construction of a minor accessory residential structure, which includes garages.
Okay. And so I'd make a motion that we deem this to be a type 2 action under 617.512 of seeker. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor? Aye. Okay. One referral to the town Rhinebeck Planning Board. And that's pretty much it, it looks like, right? There's a, I guess, do we want to assign, I know that you're going to start doing the resolutions, or you have started doing the resolutions.
Yeah, so
but
what
we're
we've
not-
kind of talked about is that instead of having the resolution assigned, we would have more of a point contact person so that, when you guys do the site visit, you can let me know what how the site visit went. And then, if I have any questions, I can more direct the questions to that particular person. So if you want to make whoever's interested in having a site visit.
The last time I think there was one.
Okay.
To go after the site visit?
No, to be the contact person.
Oh, okay, contact, okay, good.
No, by joining you. So, we'll work that. Okay, so Catherine is going to be the point person. And that takes care of the plant application. So next what we have Mr. Eric Fixler. Mr. Fixler, are you here? So you've gotten the benefit of seeing what goes on here.
Yeah.
Welcome. What we're going to go over here is, and Kim has it up on her computers, if you can just state your name and kind of look at what's up there, and also kind of look to the audience and explain to us what the application is. Or you can do it, or your representative, either or.
I guess we can play it by ear. I'm Eric Fixler. This is Ryan Walker. I'm the architect. Okay, so this is my house on Wurtemberg Road. We could probably skip forward to the other photos, but essentially, I removed a deck that was on the front of the house that stood out about 8 or 9 feet from the house. I was planning to fix that deck. It was rotten, but once we got to fixing it, decided to tear it out. The house is zoned with a 100-foot setback, but the house is 60 feet away from the road because it was built before zoning. So now I'm trying to put a 3-ish foot awning just to cover up my front door.
Yep.
Which then brings us 3 feet closer to the road. So would like to request a variance so I can put something to cover up in my front door.
Very simple. And again, another nice application here. The only thing I would ask, if it's possible, can we get colors on that little awning thingy? On the right there, just kind of what it's going to look like. It's going to be.
It's a metal roof, right?
Yeah, it'll be metal.
But silver?
Either silver or copper, we haven't made a final decision, but one of those two.
Right, and if possible, we kind of like to see what the color's going to be, and maybe you can give us both, just to see. Part of our analysis is, does it match the rest of the neighborhood? Is it,
Yeah,
Go with the rest of the
there
neighborhood.
are representatives of both of those in the neighborhood, so I don't think we were planning to do anything more than getting some samples and holding them up against the foundation, see which one looked better. But yeah, we should be able to bring samples of those two in, as much as not.
or just just give us colors of both, as,
Okay.
if there's, that's the way I ask for on renderings, just a coloring kind of thing.
Okay.
So we kind of see it. We do, by the way, and I didn't mention it to Mr. LaPlante, but we do go out and we do a site visit. Typically, I like to do them after the public hearing, after hearing what the public has to say, So we'll come out and take a look at it, and obviously this is not it's not a big request, but we still have to go through the process.
What if you said that there's some similar awnings around the neighborhood?
I mean, there are several homes that are either contemporary or older than this one, some of which do have metal roofs. And there's at least one on the block that's copper, there's like a newly renovated one on the corner that has some copper, and there's a couple more that are silver.
Okay, do you happen to be able to take pictures, from the road just so that the board can kind of see? One of the examples is, again, that it fits in the character of the neighborhood, so that would be helpful for the board to see.
Can this be supplemental material, or do we
Yeah.
have to?
Oh, yes.
No, it's up.
Yeah.
Okay, we don't have to redo all
No,
no,
the
no,
copies.
No.
And is the pole gonna be, like, the support gonna be wood or this?
Yeah, it's gonna be natural, like clear timber, clear finished timber.
And we regularly ask for color renderings, and it doesn't mean we don't accept your application, it's just give it to us before the next meeting, that's all. So we have an idea, it just gives us a better idea.
And these are just the elevations that were provided. And then here's the elevations of the awning.
Okay, any questions, concerns? No?
I looked through this, and it's, the drawings are all well done. I think it cleans up the house really nicely, and I don't understand why there was ever a door and a thing up above it anyway. But,
Just for the
We're
deck.
always going to access the deck that had been there.
yeah. But, and I think the simplicity of your little awning there is,
I did bring some photos of how it looked with the deck. if it's-
Oh, okay, sure. We can actually use, oh. Okay. And we'll just make this part of the record, we'll hand it down to Gretchen, and it'll be, can we have these?
Sure.
Okay.
I mean, it mostly shows how much larger the deck was,
Right.
and really less appropriate than what we're proposing.
Any other questions from the board, or?
No, I don't think so. Okay, so I'll make them part of the record, and I'll make a motion that we accept the application, subject to getting, whatever additional photographs you want to give to us of the surrounding houses that might have similar type awnings, and also the color schemes.
Not awnings, I'm just saying there are houses with metal roofs. I don't
Okay.
know what houses have similar awnings.
Okay,
I'm
all right.
not sure, yeah.
All right, if you think it helps, more is always better. So it gives us an idea, and we'll go out anyway and see what the neighborhood looks like. And then just a rendering of what the color's going to be of the awning. So, again, I make a motion, we accept the application subject to getting those additional things. Okay, all in favor?
Will we be on
Aye.
the
All
public
right.
hearing for next month then?
You will?
Great.
Assuming you can make it on the 15th. Okay, and the same thing's gonna happen is you'll get up here and you'll give your spiel, will have the additional information, and your neighbors will be notified, and if they want to, they can come and ask questions, and then we'll take it from there, so,
All right.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and again, we have some housekeeping, the secret determination, the recommendation is a 617.5C17, which is granting of an area variance for a single-family, two-family dwelling, two- or three-family residence. And the variance requested is only, it's 44 feet, correct?
Yeah, so as they mentioned, the setback is 100 feet. So when a house is grandfathered in other words, it was built before the in-law change from 2009, it's grandfathered in, and additions are allowed to happen without the need of a variance, unless the addition is closer to one of the property lines, which is what happened here. So as they mentioned, the house is about 60 feet right here. And then with the awning, it's 56 feet. So for that, because the setback is 100 feet, that's why the variance is 44 feet. But it's really just about 4 feet from what's currently there.
I bet you it's less than what was there.
What's that?
I said, I bet you it was less than what was there.
It was, yeah, I think I haven't seen the picture of the deck, but I think they said the deck was about 8 to 9 feet. So this is
9
about
to 10, you said.
9 to 10 feet, and then, so this is 4 feet, so it's still less, yeah.
Okay. All right, making a motion that we designate this as a type 2 action under 617.5C17 of seeker. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And Richard, is between you and I?
As a point,
As a point person.
I'll be that point.
Okay. And it looks like we have a referral just to the town, to the planning board, that's it?
Yep.
Okay. Anything else?
I think that's it.
I think that's it. Okay. So, next up we have Upstate for a public hearing.
Yep.
Gretchen. Oh my goodness. Have your notices. You sign my notice. Yeah, well, because I didn't get to copy them, so you can sign them all.
Good evening.
Good evening. Hi, I'm Victoria Polidoro, partner at Rodenhouse and Shaw Polidoro, here on behalf of Upstate Down LLC, which owns the property located at 1094 Route 308 in the town of Rhinebeck. It's up on the screen. I know everyone on the board is familiar with the location, but for those in the audience, it's a commercial property on Route 308. At one point, it was a bar, and then a Greek restaurant, then sushi, then Grand Cru, and now it's home to Upstate Down House. The property was granted a use variance for a commercial use on January 26, 2014, and again on April 15, 2015, and April 20th, 2016. So new information, it was renewed several times, as the applicant was having trouble finding someone to purchase the building and the non-conforming use had lapsed. Fast forward to the present day, and the new purchasers of the property are facing a similar situation. After Upstate Down purchased the property, it became apparent that a significant amount of costly repairs were necessary before it could be used for its intended purpose. A restaurant design concept with non-traditional hours and rotating chefs. And Denise will explain that more momentarily. But for all intents and purposes, a restaurant. The property repairs are almost complete, and the applicant is working with the building department to close out permits and then apply to the Department of Health. So we're here tonight because Upstate Down is appealing the July 26, 2023 determination of the zoning enforcement officer that, quote, the special use permit was lost by cessation. The issue before the zoning board is whether the two pop-up events held at the property on September 7th, 2022 and January 7th, 2023 kept the use variance for a commercial use active. In support of this, we provided sworn testimony from 6 people that attended or were involved in putting on the pop-up event. Those were provided to you in the last submission. Each of the affiants state that they exchanged money for food at these events, which is the essence of a restaurant use. So first, the zoning enforcement officer is confusing a use variance with a special use permit. While the zoning law now allows a special use permit for a restaurant in certain zoning districts, this property actually had a use variance, not a special use permit, which is different. And the use variance was for, quote, a commercial use, which is broader. On its face, the zoning enforcement officer's finding that the special use permit had expired is factually incorrect, and a basis for the ZBA to overturn this decision.
Guys, just a quick question.
Sure.
When was the last time, I know you say there was a pop-up event on September 7th of 22. When was the last time that the site had been used as a quote-unquote restaurant or,
It was August.
By Grand Cru?
yeah, either Grand Cru or whoever it was? I just want to know what the time
I
period
think
was.
it was December 21st, 2021.
I have it in the file.
Something like that.
Okay,
It's in
it's
the
within a
determinant.
year.
It's in the letter from the zoning enforcement
Yeah.
officer.
It's within a year.
It was within,
I
yeah.
believe it was December 21st, 2021, and I think your first pop-up event was September
Yeah,
2022?
September
Yeah.
7th. So it was within the calendar year.
Right.
So that goes to my next point, which is that the commercial use of the property did not cease for a year. There's no evidence that has been provided by the town which controverts the sworn testimony of the attendees or to support the ZEO's claim that the events have ceased completely since 12/23/21. That was the date that the town said the last event was held, 12/23, when the Grand Cru closed. During the last zoning board meeting, we asserted that the use variance permits a more broad commercial use and is not limited to a restaurant use as defined in the town zoning law. This is supported by language of the resolution itself, which refers to the use variance as a commercial use and acknowledges that there were other commercial properties in the neighborhood. But there are also some contemporaneous documents which support this view. The 2014 application for a use variance did not state a proposed use as either general commercial or restaurant. It was blank. Under test 1, however, the applicant states, quote, "It is important that it remain a commercial property." Although we acknowledge that later in test 2, she does state that the property was unique and that it was a restaurant. In addition, there's correspondence from Ron Evangelista, the town's ZEO at the time, which states that it is important to retain your commercial status for your Route 308 property. So the term commercial was being used at the time the zoning board granted these variances. Your attorney has provided me with the same materials that you are being provided tonight. I don't know if she's already given them to you. One of them includes a memo which specifically refers to the use variance as being for a restaurant. That's a memo by the planning board. So while the planning board may have used more specific language in its memo, we must read intention into the zoning board's choice to use the broader term commercial each time it granted the use variance in 2014, 2015, and 2016. As we've previously noted, zoning laws are in derogation of the common law, which means that they infringe on people's inherent property rights. And it's a rule that any ambiguity must be resolved in favor of the landowner. Here, to the extent that there's any ambiguity or confusion about the term, it must be resolved in favor of the landowner upstate down. Lastly, however, even if you read the use variance as only allowing a narrower restaurant use, we assert that the pop-up events at the property were sufficient to continue that restaurant use while the property was under renovation. The restaurant use was never abandoned, and the applicants have continued to pursue it. As we mentioned the last time, money was exchanged for food, and we feel that is sufficient to continue the restaurant use. I'm going to hand out a narrative statement from Louise Berry, I think she's done signing, regarding the restaurant use of the property, and she's also going to now come up to the microphone and explain the loud for everyone. I'm also going to hand you a copy of the 2014 application for use variance and a portion of an email from Ron Evangelista. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for having us tonight. I'm Delise Berry. My husband John and I purchased 1094 Route 308 in late spring 2022. And as Victoria explained, well, let me just back up a little bit more to our sort of mission and process with the facility. We were excited by buying the property because we have a We love the possibilities of what it can certainly become, but also the potential of what it could offer for the community. My husband and I own a company that, for lack of better words, has sort of a parent company with subsequent businesses that really read into a lifestyle experience and the home department in the Hudson Valley. And so that includes interior design, it includes a real estate brokerage, and we have a home store in town. And we were very excited by the idea of branching into food and experiences because we feel there's a tremendous need in our town. We looked at the opportunity at curating the space that really exemplifies the aesthetic of our brand, but more importantly, creates a platform that we can have this hybrid model restaurant to allow us to feature local chefs, food trucks, fire pits, a real place for families and community to use and experience, as well as our hopes and intention to have a place that artists can be featured, that families can potentially participate or feature student artists, and of course incorporating food as part of that. We have been here for 13 years, but before that, like, I grew up spending half my time here because my mom's been here for over 20 plus years. And over that time, and as being a business owner, we just really saw within our community that there's not a lot of spaces that give tribute to that, to those needs. And so our intention, yes, it was not traditional, potentially in just a standardized restaurant model, but something that absolutely created a platform for food and for experiences and arts. I think there was maybe confusion because if you just look up our brand, right, you're going to see something that but doesn't exemplify that because that was our new curation. And so I think that's where some of this confusion came. Unfortunately, the extensive amount of work that needs to be done on the property and infrastructure work belonged to us resource-wise and time-wise that we were unable to execute this in a timely manner that we hoped, and that's why we haven't been able to go through the health department process, but we feel that we're close if we can get the violations lifted. So I'm really here to all of you, really in plea and speaking from my heart of like, this is a place that we felt was really special and offers something unique to the community that we really felt was needed, and that's always been our intention. And food, of course, would be a part of that.
What has been done to the inside of the building?
The inside of the building has a wall change around the bathrooms because when you walked in, you kind of looked right at the bathroom. So we changed the doorway. We moved it over about 3 feet. And we changed the positioning of the counter, but we did draw this up for you because we are working with the building department to rectify a little confusion that perhaps we'll take the blame for that we really want to just resolve. And so I can pass this around to you.
Can we have a copy?
Yeah, of course.
We'll make it part of the record too.
And it just shows you, we also have a second one that shows what we had, but the blue on this shows you the opening of where the bathroom was, and then the new opening is there. You can see there's a little line patch where there was a hole left because the previous owner took the taps that were there, but it just left a hole in the wall, which we covered up, and we extended one of the counters. That counter, by the way, the extended counter that you see there, which I put a red line on, there's no electrical, there's no plumbing in it. It's literally built on 2x4s with a counter, but we finished it to look pretty. So everything in the kitchen, we did though replace the sink in the kitchen that was there, the one sink closer to the steps because it had extensive leaking that was pouring into the bathroom behind it and causing extreme damage. So we did replace that. And the same thing where the other sink is, it's actually a mop station and that's still there. The venting, the stove, all of that's there. It actually is in need, I think, of further cleaning because I think there's some grease stuff still coming in. So we want to address that, but it's all the original venting that we
So you
received.
haven't done anything with regard to the...
The stove is
The
our
stove.
next step, to
Okay,
really
so-
clean it out and make sure that it's satisfactory for the health department.
So the only thing that you've done is the sink next to the stairs.
Yeah, there was also a tiny sink in this little room that you walk to the kitchen that's just capped off. But the only structural opening change was the bathroom opening, and we extended the counter. And it's our understanding that we shouldn't have extended that counter. Again, there's no plumbing and no electrical in it. So we removed an old counter that was there and extended that one, and we're working with the health department to get a new permit so that they can see the before and after of exactly what we did. Because we messed up, we didn't know what we were
If
doing.
you fix the kitchen, would you still do food trucks, or would you have actual rotating chefs?
In my
Preparing.
fantasy, I mean, I want both. I think both have different celebratory places in our community. In the summer, it's so wonderful to be outside with fire pits and food trucks, or, you know, for different types of things. But I feel like the inside, I really want it to be an experience. It almost feels like a home. Obviously, that's the department we're in. And beautiful walls for artists to be able to be featured. You know, we want it to feel personal, for people to really enjoy and use, but absolutely we would love to have both, because the indoors are as beautiful as the outdoors.
And when you say you have artists featured, would it be just kind of like anyone could come in at a certain time to look at the artist or the display or whatever?
Yeah, I mean, it's not open like regular hours, so we think that it would be sort of featured hours, perhaps when we're doing an artist feature, let's say if it's for a month, maybe it would have hours through the weekends or on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, but it wouldn't just be a drop-in, because we don't see it as something that's like a traditional restaurant open all the time, but more of an experience, you know.
But it is a restaurant.
It's a restaurant. The kitchen's there, we want financial exchange for food, and we
It's-
want, yeah.
It's not an operational kitchen right now.
Well, it's not, it hasn't been stamped by the health department
Right.
because we needed to finish the repairs, but nothing, that's our next step. The cleaning, the renovation, the like, okay, so the kitchen was completely infested with mice. Half of the equipment that was there was, I can't imagine it being, in my opinion, I don't think it would be healthy to clean it based on the conditions that it was in. So we removed those things, and that's why they've been replaced. The wash station was rotting so much into the walls that it was rotting. It was like you can see a hole in the wall. We needed to take that out. Again, nothing of the venting. I know that the previous owners did do a lot of work around the grease traps and the septic systems and all of that, and so we're very happy those are in great shape. But we needed to address the equipment that was there. And to be completely honest, you know, we understand that we might incorporate an operating partner who's really well suited in this field to continue with us. So we might have to do more based on what the health department wants, and we're happy to do that. But in the meantime, we've replaced what was there that was clearly in need of cleanup.
Yeah. You know, Brian mentioned that it's more conducive to a living room style space, not a conducive to a restaurant. But truthfully, restaurants are totally, they could be anything. So it's not like, maybe it's not like a Gigi's or a Market Street, but a living room, being comfortable in a totally different type of experience is not unheard of. This is not a new concept. It might be a little new for our area, but, and the whole idea of showing art, in my opinion, it's not new either. It's a nice way to help local artists. So, but I still don't, I'm still confused on the whole thing about whether you definitely want this to be commercial or do you want it to be a restaurant. And that's what I keep on going back on because Victoria keeps on bringing that up and I'm not quite sure.
I'll explain why I keep bringing it up. Under your zoning law, restaurant is defined as having Department of Health approval. Under that very strict definition, we know that this facility does not have Department of Health approval right now. And so I'm arguing, first, that the use variance was for something broader than just restaurant as defined in your zoning law. And that therefore, any commercial activity there extends the use variance. But the intention is to have a restaurant with a Department of Health licensed kitchen. So, yeah, that's I know the goal here, you know, they have a very good business model, and they're speaking marketing, and I'm trying to distill it into zoning and building.
I also just want to touch on the lounge thing. I think there was a little confusion, and forgive me if I missed where the laws state that we can't do this, but It is not in operation, and therefore it is a space that we utilize in storing some of our stuff. We have a bunch of chairs there right now. It's not indicative of necessarily what it will be set up as. The structure is the structure. How it's currently sitting, it has nothing to do with necessarily how it's going to look when we open. So I just point that out because whoever may have seen it and say, oh, it looks like a lounge. It's about the structure. None of that stuff will look like that when we're ready to open. And we might have a couch there, but not multiple. It's just, we're using it for storing some of our stuff. We stage houses, we use things go in and out, and right now it's not operational, it's just sitting there. So I hope that no one takes that so literally.
Could I ask a question, actually, there were some local articles from
Yeah.
WPDH and stuff like that, which
Yeah.
showed it and, said kind of like, oh, what should we do with
Yes.
that? So I think that might be where some of the confusion is. Do you have any statements?
Yeah,
for
I
that?
actually appreciate you bringing that up. I got so many calls of people saying, thank you. Thank you for taking into consideration what the community wants and different elements that you can bring into focus here that actually supports our community. That's what that was about. That was about the fact that if we can move forward with this, which we really hope we do, we want to listen also to what people want and take as much of that into consideration as we navigate the specificness of this business. But it's a restaurant. It's a restaurant first and foremost in a hybrid model way that is supportive of the people that live here.
So you were taking input from the community on
Yeah.
how to run the restaurant?
Exactly,
not-
and it said that, even on the post on social media, which is where they got the indication to want to write this article, we said, restaurant anyone, what would you like to see here? And it was about like, what type of restaurant? We had people say like, can you be gluten-free? Can there be a place for my kids to hang out outside? It wasn't about changing it to an office. It was about what can be incorporated that feels meaningful to have a beautiful space outside the village that's a little bit more indicative of community, experiences. But thank you for bringing that up, I appreciate it. It's good.
Let me ask a
Yeah.
question. First of all, is there anybody in the audience who is here for this application? Aha! I suspected so. Okay, I just want to say one quick thing, and then what I'd like to do is to allow the audience members, if you would like to speak, this is your opportunity to come on up, come up to the microphone and state your name and ask whatever questions you want to ask about the application. The only thing I do ask, and actually I don't even ask, I demand, is that everybody be respectful. Because a lot of times in these kind of things, there are emotions, and which is understandable, but we're better than Washington and other places. And we're Rhinebeck, and we're going to be civil. And I don't mean to be difficult, but this is the way I run it. A judge once said to me, I try lawsuits, okay, I'm an attorney. Judge once said to me, the louder you speak, the less I hear. And that's exactly what I do. So I want everybody to have a full and fair opportunity to say whatever they want to say, but please keep it respectful. Now, the one thing before I start bringing people up, believe it or not, I was here when all these resolutions were done. I've been here for 20 years. And I know what you're talking about as far as some confusion, the use of commercial use and this, that, and the other thing. I will tell you my recollection of what we were doing back then was to help Sophia, who is the applicant, and she wanted to keep it as a restaurant use so she could try to sell it. They were having a heck of a time. She kept coming out from Long Island, which is I think where she lived, and it had been Diaspora, which was a wonderful restaurant, and wasn't anymore, and they were running out of time on the grandfathering, so she kept coming in, and that was the intent, was a restaurant use. That was my recollection. I understand maybe, we didn't have Kim back then, so it wasn't maybe as artfully drawn as possible, but that was my recollection of the intent. So, with that said, who would
Before
like...
we open, just before,
Okay.
Delise and Victoria, did you have any other additional things, or do you want to move on to the public hearing? Okay.
Okay. So, again, whoever would like to come up, please come up. State your name. Steve's over here, so if you can kind of look his way a little bit and then direct whatever questions you have to the applicant.
We'll direct it to the board.
And the
These
board,
are
too,
comments
yeah.
for the board to consider,
Yeah.
so.
Come on up. Don't be shy.
And if you could just state your, I think.
Yeah, state your name and
for the record.
where you live and all that kind of stuff.
Yes, my name is Ben Pinder. I live in Clinton Township, but I'm an active Rhinebeck community member. My kids go to school here. I'm an artist. I volunteered for Culture Connect the middle school for their Art in Action Day. At the library, ran the Lego Club for a while. And I taught art classes at the after-school elementary school here, and soccer coach here in town. I've known the Berries for about 10 years, and I can honestly say that the community is a better place because they're in it, and because their business is here. Upstate Down sponsors the soccer team I coach, and their kids don't even play on it. They're active in the community, they're active in the school, they support local businesses, they support the residents, and having their business here helps Rhinebeck. I think it helps everyone who lives here, and it makes it a better place to live. So I hope they get the help that they're asking for today.
Thank you. You can clap, that's fine. No bullying or hissing, I can't.
No problem.
But anyway, is there anybody else who would like to come on up and state either your support, or if you have some questions, you're against, whatever. This is an open forum here. And the more input we get, the better. So, come on up.
Good evening. Pete Santoro. I'd like to echo what Mr. Binder said. But I'd also like to say I'm a neighbor of this property. I live on Salisbury Court. And my family and I have had many amazing memories when Rod owned the property, you know, outdoor music and beer and food carts. And my hope is that something in that same vein will kind of replace what's going on now, which is not much. But I'm confident in the Berries' abilities. They're dear friends, they've been great community members, and you have my support as a neighbor. I would like to see something go into that as a community group.
Okay.
That's what I'd say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Come on up.
I always have to do this. My name is Noel Delgado. I've also been here for about 10 years. I think the Berries were one of the first families that we met when we moved up here from Brooklyn. I have 2 kids, 2 dogs, and a wife. I live on 12 Cedar Lane. We're also very familiar with the property. As our kids ride in Wellwyn, we know the Stevensons who own the property, and this is right at the end of their property. And I saw for a very long time. We are fans of the Berries. We support the Berries. They are great community members, humble family. Just spending 2 minutes with them, or their kids. You know, they're proud members of our community. They lift our community up. We trust what they do here, and they make it a very enjoyable place to live, a very humble place to live, as you guys already mentioned, and we are in full support for what they're trying to do and create here. Thank you.
We have another taker. Take your time.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Zanger. I have been a community member for about 7 years, and I want to echo what everybody has said. The Berries are folks that are really interested and committed to supporting this community. I work with an organization that serves special needs children, and they have supported that organization, so they have a mind and a heart that is inclusive of all the people who are part of our community, and I have a deep appreciation for that. And I support them 100% in this pursuit, and think it will add and be a welcoming space for all in Rhinebeck and beyond.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay. I really don't have any other questions. Have we been supplied with, was there any request the last time around? I forget, quite frankly. We had a request for any additional information and whether been supplied?
We had asked, Victoria had mentioned that she was going to supply a supplemental piece, which she did tonight.
Okay,
And I think I had just asked if there could be, if you had a QuickBooks Excel spreadsheet with your initial submission, and it just wasn't, I just wanted, well, actually, maybe your narrative kind of explains it. It was just kind of like, because looking just at the spreadsheet with the numbers, it wasn't clear what that represented, but perhaps with your narrative, that might answer the
The
question.
narrative doesn't address the numbers, but you can explain the
Yeah.
numbers.
Sorry, I went through it, my back a little slow. The deposits that we made, because most people pay in cash, and so the deposits that we made were then deposited on QuickBooks as like a cash payment, so it's not like it's, like in our store where it's like all just swiped and then goes in as that way. There was a few people that paid by Venmo, so we just screenshotted the deposit into our QuickBooks to show it, as well as we gave the date, how much was the deposit, and then just a screenshot of showing that cash deposit into the QuickBooks.
It was from these were the food trucks?
Yeah.
No, what we did, there wasn't food trucks. What we did is we actually bought food from, someone that has a licensed Board of Health approval kitchen and brought that in. So we didn't have anything on site because we were worried that would be acceptable.
Right, so they sold food that they had
Prepared, that was already prepared.
So you brought the food and
Yeah.
then you exchanged the
Exactly.
cash, kind of like not to be derogatory, like a bake sale of this.
Yeah, I mean, we just had it there, and then we did one with the Jamaican place in Hudson, for example, and had like all the Jamaican patties and they're already made, which, again, like even the food we were buying, we're like, how can we support another business that we think we can celebrate? Like, we always want to think about that,
So have you had food trucks?
no, we have not.
No, so everything's purchased
Yep.
and then sold on to.
It was my understanding from briefly talking to the zoning enforcement officer that you needed a special permit for potentially bringing that food truck, so I didn't want to risk that.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Any questions? Or?
So it's not a question of whether food trucks constitute a continuous use at this point. Am I understanding that?
Well, I think one of the questions is that as part of the conditions from the use variance was that they had to, the owner had to have a commercial, like a commercial activity. If you cease a commercial activity for more than a year,
Right.
the use variance was voided. So the question is, when they had so Grand Cru stopped December 23rd, 2021. Upstate Down had an event on September 7th, 2022. So what they're arguing is that that event in September was a commercial event that therefore kept the use variance, so that's why because if you see, like in 2015 and 2016, Sophia came to ask for a renewal of the use variance because there had been no, I'm assuming there had been no commercial activity on the site between 2014, 2015, 2016. And then Grand Cru, I guess, purchased it 2016, 2017 perhaps, I'm not sure, but I know Grand Cru had gotten site plan approval, and then I think Grand Cru was in operation from whenever they started to 2021, end of 2021. So I think regarding the pop-up event in September 2022, that's being submitted from the applicant to explain that the use variance that they have did not lapse and did not get voided out.
Yeah, and I will tell you that Sophia came to us because there had been no commercial activity, there had been no restaurant activity for coming on a year, and that's why she came in 2014, 2015, 2016, and the place was actively on the market, and they just didn't have people, and that's why she came to us.
And we granted.
We did. We did. Diaspora, I think part of our thinking back then was that, it was a restaurant, and Diaspora was an excellent restaurant. I don't know if anybody remembers that.
My friend owned it.
And it was an excellent restaurant, and we just felt that it was appropriate to, since it was a restaurant, and it was a successful one, to keep it going, and hopefully that there'd be a buyer, and that's why we did it.
Could I get something?
Sure.
So just the consequence of the use variance lapsing is that there's no approved use for the property, and the only approved use really is residential. And so to convert this property to a residence right on the road, it's not a nice location for a residence because of its proximity to the road. And so the applicant would have to reapply for a use variance based on the same criteria that this board has now considered 3 times already. And so that would be the outcome if you don't find that the pop-ups continue to use. We can back before you to discuss the financials and whether this should be a restaurant.
So I would recommend to the board, just because, we've gotten some materials. I think Brian sent a public comment in, so we'll forward that to you.
Brian Kim?
Yes. So we'll forward that to you. So being that we have some information that was received, and, I sent you, the application from Sophia and the minutes and the resolutions, a lot to kind of digest. I would suggest we continue the public hearing to allow you all to be able to comprehend and absorb what you heard tonight, and then we'll continue the public hearing to November. And if anybody else wants to submit additional public comment, but then we can also, if you have any legal questions, we can always do an attorney-client meeting available as well.
With the eye of closing it on the 15th of November.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
And I hope I understand this, but the planning board, but you never know. If it gets extended one more time and then gets closed, then it would potentially be decided at that time, or there would be the next
So
following
typically
meeting?
for the ZBA is that, I know that that's how it is
Yeah.
usually done at the planning board. For the ZBA, we usually, so at the close of the public hearing, we have 62 days to issue a decision. I would expect hopefully at the November meeting, the board will deliberate and discuss what assuming that the public hearing is closed, the board would deliberate on what they seek, and then I would have the direction to draft up a resolution based on the board. So it probably would be the following.
So, of course, I support whatever you guys do, because you have to do your due diligence and make this the best decision possible. And I'm sure I'm not the first person to say this. I just want to be very transparent that it's been, especially with the violation, a really big financial burden for us and our family around trying to get this up. And anything that you can do to be considerate of that in time is really appreciated, especially as we're heading into this time of year where business cannot really open at that time. So you do what you have to.
I think we can say the certainty that, well, maybe not with certainty, but we certainly expect to close it on the 15th of November. And while we have 62 days, we typically do it the next one, which is 30 days or so. So it would be December. And there's just a lot of paper.
Sure.
And it's not like the first 2 applications you saw.
I know.
Okay.
They're very straightforward.
So, and we want to get this right, and we're going to really need assistance of counsel in this as well, because it's not your average variance application.
Could I just throw a suggestion out there?
Certainly.
One alternative to keeping it open for another month would just be to allow written comments for another 2 weeks. We didn't have anyone here that was opposed, all the neighbors got notice. And that would give everyone time to, you have the documents, you're gonna have a whole month to review them anyways. But that might enable the board to deliberate more on the November meeting.
Yeah, no,
I just want to just say, I understand, and it's more that if the board is able to deliberate at the November meeting, I'm going to need their deliberations to be able to draft up the resolutions. I wouldn't have a resolution for November until the board is able to deliberate. And I'd like them to be able to take what comments they heard tonight, take the submission that was provided tonight and the minutes and stuff, be able to read that and then come to November, being able to deliberate after fully having digested all that information.
And since it's still open, we will take more information if people want to write in or whatever, but we have, I think we have plenty.
Okay, thank you.
So, all right, so at this time, I'd like to make a motion that we continue the public hearing until November 15th. And you have a second? All in favor? Aye. All right, so we'll see you on the 15th, with the closing on the 15th. Anybody who wants to submit any written materials, feel free to do so. We're taking, until the public hearing is closed, we're accepting information.
You won't do the site visit until after the closing of it?
What's that?
The site visit wouldn't happen until after that closing?
Yeah, I don't know that we really,
Okay.
I'm not sure.
It's up to you. You certainly
Yeah.
can do a site visit if you want. You know, it's.
Maybe, but I think maybe going inside might be a helpful thing to do.
But I think,
But we can certainly do that.
yeah, I would think, I know you guys usually like to do it after the public hearing. I think being that the
Well, we've
public
gotten
hearing
enough
happened
information.
tonight, you can kind of go in, if you want to do a site visit, you got.
Why don't we do that? Why don't we make that commitment, that if we're going to do a site visit, we'll do it before the November 15th.
Great, that would be great.
Get that out of the way. We talk to you? We talk to her? Whoever, anyway, who's the contact person? We'll probably all want to go out just to see the inside.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, I think that's a good point.
Thank you.
Next is Williams. Okay.
Thank you all for coming out.
Just make sure that no one's here for Williams.
Is anyone here for the Williams application? Williams, Brian Williams. We didn't get the exact measurements. He didn't supply them. Thank you very much for coming out. All right, so, with Williams, we're waiting for the exact measurements to understand. And last I knew, Gretchen, you can correct me, he's working with John Decker. So nothing's been submitted, so I would suggest we just continue that until the next meeting. okay. Do you want me to make a formal motion or just continue it?
Just for the record, if you could just state the.
All right, so we still have not received the requested information, which was, I believe, exact measurements from Mr. Williams. So we're going to continue the public hearing until November 15th. Continue that? Okay, second. All in favor, aye. Opposed? Okay, continue. And then the last thing we have is, Kim, I'll let you talk about it, it's the Lloyd matter.
So, if you might remember back November 2022, Lloyd, which is, they're located off of Morton Road by, are you with Alex? Yep. Okay. So this is Alex, he's Mr. Lloyd.
You look familiar.
They have the property that was adjacent to Wilderstein, and they wanted to build it.
Long time ago, yeah.
Yeah, so what happened was that the ZBA had granted variances in November for their, I think it was their proposed house location, they needed some setback variances. And after they granted the variances, the ZBA granted the variance, they had to also get site plan and special use permit from the planning board. And Mr. Lloyd, would you like to just explain? They just recently got planning board approval, but there was quite a bit of discussions with the planning board, right? You know, just explain it a little bit.
Yeah, come on up, just state your name for the record, and as you know.
Sure.
Yeah, you're. Slight
I
adjustment.
won't try to mess with that. I'm Alex Lloyd, and yeah, this is about the 2XX Morton Road property, the lot just north of Wilderstein. I think all three of you were there.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Sidewalk through. And right in the time since then, we of course had to get a site plan and special use permit from the planning board. And we needed the septic approval from the health department. And for a while, there was a logjam. We've been kind of vigorously pursuing this for a year. There was a logjam of the health department was trying to wait on approval from the planning board, but the planning board's standard practice is they don't like to do approvals without the septic approved, because then the septic might change something, and so, you know, that took a while to, mercifully, the health department essentially was finally like, okay, fine. So in that review, the health examiner came up with some ways to reduce the footprint of the septic system itself, which is great. The project will be better and a bit less grading and stuff like that. But that also led to then additional revisions of the landscape plan, which then, you know, there's more meetings at the planning board of getting that reviewed. A few rounds of back and forth with CPL, the town's engineer. You know, that was probably a couple months. That was concurrent with some of the septic stuff. And then most of the summer was holding pattern just because the health department, I think, I don't know, never got a clear story, but basically it was backing up. You know, you send some stuff and then you wait 6 weeks and you get a question and you answer the question and then, you know, you wait a while again. And then there are bursts where they sort of, you know, give it vigorous attention, and there'll be lots of back and forth with the, our Poughkeepsie civil engineer and the health department, and then, you know, things were quiet for a while. And then finally got approval, and then there's the lag to the planning board, and in, I think, September is when we finally got our planning board approval. Oh, and one of the things that happened also in this, you all had as part of your approval, your motion, said, by the way, with the planning board, please take a look at screening on the Wilderstein side, see if there's anything to do. That, I don't know if you care, but I have the printouts of that. That turned into, and you know, the electronic bit is projectable too, but basically that turned into the line of trees that were originally going to screen the septic from the road, and we had been sort of trying to feather in the clearing to the forest along here. Is also now there's a clump of mixed massing of shrubs and a little rain garden that deals with a drainage thing here, and then clumps of bigger trees all along the house through here. So that got a lot of attention from the planning board. And, you know, I think it'll be nice, really nice around both, like, it'll be nice for us too, like, yeah. And so then right, that gets us up to September, but then stacked on top of September, before we can meet what's in your resolution as construction commencing within the year. Construction needs a building permit, which needs a couple other state approvals, which were stacked up on site plan stuff. So like every couple weeks I get an email from the Poughkeepsie engineer saying, okay, I'm paying the state DEC, you know, waiting for them, something to do with the drainage and erosion plan or something. That part I've been, you've probably seen, very involved in some pieces of this. That one I'm not an expert on the details of. And of course, finishing the development of the house itself, which is on hold while you're waiting to hear from the town, can I even put the house in this spot? So at this point, having a contractor putting materials and labor in the footing by November seems somewhat unlikely. Other than the septic grading footprint having reduced and the better screening on the Wilderstein side, nothing about the plan is different than what you saw. So the circumstances are all the same. Hopefully, there's, I don't know what bureaucratically is the right way to frame the request. I don't know if an extension is a legal word for this.
Well, no, it's an extension, and it sounds like you've done a lot of things. It's not your fault, and you've been vigorously pursuing this, so I don't have a problem with the request, but it's asking for an extension, and it happens from time to time on more complex.
And what was important too is that you asked for it before, it's better to ask for it before the variance expire, because usually when the variance expire, which would be November, it's the courts have said that the ZBA really can't retroactively grant it. So the fact that you also asked for it was also helpful to us. So everything you did was
Yeah,
correct.
that letter was from September or something.
Yes,
that I
it's
wrote.
September 28th.
And it sounds like the application may have actually gotten a little bit better, tweaking it with the vegetation and everything else, which,
That's what we think.
yeah. And the septic
Yeah,
seems to be a little bit better too. So anyway, so we have been provided, I don't know.
Yeah, so I had received, and then you all have received the request from Mr. Lloyd for extending. I had also, I'm also the planning board attorney, so I had known that this was moving along, so my suggestion to you was to consider the extension, but to grant it. I know that Mr. Lloyd had asked for the year to kind of start from the date that the planning board signs it. My recommendation, the thing is that, so once site plan approval is granted, the applicant should come to have the final site plan signed within 6 months. But they can ask for an extension, which can be up to a year. So it could be a total of 18 months, and then if you add another year.
An infinite sleeper
Right,
extension.
so
that makes
what I had.
And you can come back.
What I had suggested and what I drafted for your consideration is to grant additional year, so to November 16th, 2024, for the construction to commence. And if you need additional time, just do exactly what you did, ask for an extension here again. And, if you've asked for an extension from the planning board, let us know. If you can't do it within that year, give us I've asked for an extension from the planning board, or, just like exactly what you explained, like this is what we've done since we last saw you. Just show us the progress is being made.
I think, if I understand right, there's something complicated with the planning board. Maybe Gretchen was explaining this, where there's 6 months on site plan and a year on special use, or vice versa.
So site plan can be up to 18 months. Special use is a year.
Okay.
So there is that difference between
Yeah,
those two
I
as well.
mentioned the site plan because in your letter you asked for it to be told from site plan approval, but, or site plan signature. But that was the thing, because there's different, and then building permit is 2 extra years.
And that's what throws it off with, is the site plan too, because you can wait 6 months to have the chair sign it, and then you can extend it from that 6 months for the year.
Right, yeah.
So, but you can wait that 6 months and then do it, so that'll give you the 18 months.
I see.
Yeah.
So your simple proposal is a year from when that last resolution was?
From the ZBA's resolution. So it's an additional year from the November 16th, 2023, so to November 24th. And then if you need additional time, just, ask in a written request, ask for the zoning board to extend it. And then we'll do the exact same, we'll evaluate, how far, just to make sure, you're moving forward, and then the board can consider another request to do it.
I was actually going to ask that. So the purpose of the expiration is that this isn't just like an infinite entitlement on the land. It's sort of for a particular project that is in active development for some loose definition of that.
Yeah, so the reason that that the ZBA puts in the resolution that the variances are only granted for about a year until you start construction, so that we don't want it to be an indefinite, 10 years from now, because as you know, one of the variance criteria is how it impacts the character of the neighborhood. And 10 years from now, it might be quite different.
So all the stuff
So
that
it's
you went
just
and
to
looked
kind
at
it
is
might
still
might
valid.
change.
Plus, there could be a new master plan.
What's that?
Plus, there could be a new master plan.
Right, exactly,
within a couple
yeah,
of
so
years.
it's
I mean,
just,
yeah.
so that's why we like to keep things moving on a certain pace, but,
That makes
I think
sense.
you've demonstrated that you are moving forward, And it's, just things got tied up, so.
Okay.
So I have no problem with it. I would support it.
I do too.
Okay, do you want me to put it?
Yeah, absolutely fine.
So we'll read the record, the resolution. Would you like me to read the resolution? Would you like to read the resolution?
Doesn't matter, whatever you feel, it's your handiwork, but I'd be more than happy to read it, it's up to you.
Okay, well, I'll just read it quickly. So this is for resolution granting time extension in the matter of the area variance application of Alexander Lloyd, ZBA case number 1034. That was the ZBA case, so this is just an extension off of that. That's why it's the same number. Whereas on November 16th, 2022, the Town of Rhinebeck Zoning Board of Appeals adopted a resolution granting 3 area variances to Alexander Lloyd, the applicant, for property located on Morton Road, which is vacant land, in Town of Rhinebeck, and which bears a tax parcel number 135089-6069-00-535040, or the resolution. Pursuant to the resolution, section 5, the area variance would be null and void unless the proposed construction was commenced within 1 year of the resolution. Such date from the resolution would be November 16, 2023. In addition to the area variances, the applicant also requires special use permit and site plan approval from the Town of Rhinebeck Planning Board. Such approvals were granted by the Planning Board on September 5th, 2023. On September 28th, 2023, prior to the expiration of the area variances, the applicant submitted a written request to the ZBA to toll the 1-year requirement to commence construction until site plan is signed by the Planning Board Chairwoman. Pursuant to Town of Rhinebeck zoning law, section 125-78D, site plan approval shall expire within 6 calendar months of the Planning Board's resolution if it is not signed by the Planning Board Chair. Upon written request of the Planning Board, the time period for submission of the site plan stamping and signature may be extended for a maximum period of 1 additional calendar year for a total of 18 months from the date of the Planning Board's resolution of site plan approval. According to the applicant, before commencing construction, they need to complete development work based on final feedback of the Planning Board, obtain remaining outside agency approvals, complete construction drawings, coordinate with contractors, and apply for a building permit. We find that the applicant has diligently pursued its approvals in front of the Planning Board. We find that the applicant's request for a time extension to commence construction is reasonable given the recent approvals received from the Planning Board and the need for additional changes made to site plan before final signature can be obtained. However, as the date of which the applicant requests to toll the 1-year requirement to commence construction could potentially span a period of 2.5 years, we are inclined to grant a 1-year extension, subject to further written request for extension by the applicant to be considered by the ZBA if such additional requests are needed. Now therefore be it resolved, based on all the facts described above and upon the reasoning described above as follows. Section 1, ZBA hereby grants an extension of 1 additional year by which the applicant must commence construction before the area variance become null and void. Thus, the area variance shall be null and void unless the proposed construction is commenced by November 16, 2024. Section 2, upon prior written request of the Zoning Board of Appeals before the expiration of said area variance, the applicant may request an additional extension for which to commence construction. If such request is made, the applicant shall provide the ZBA any extension request made to the Planning Board for stamping and signature of the site plan, and shall also provide any updates on the status of finalizing site plan and obtaining a building permit. Section 3, all other content, conditions, provision statements in our resolution dated November 16, 2022 are unaffected and continue to remain in full force and effect. Do you have any questions or?
Comments, questions, concerns?
Great.
All righty. Can I ask for a roll call then?
Do you want to do a motion?
Oh, okay. Or you can do it. Oh,
I
guess
can't do a
I have to do a motion. I make a motion that we adopt the resolution as read by Kim. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Or, no, let me withdraw that. Roll call?
Scott?
Yes.
Catherine?
Yes.
Richard?
Yes.
Done.
And Joe's absent.
That was the vote, that roll call?
That was it.
Okay. Good luck to you, and you're getting there. Slowly but surely.
I go by that drive that was done a long time ago. I go by it every single day and I'm saying, what's happening with Alex here? I mean, it's like,
A lot in computers and in this room and in Gretchen's inbox.
well,
All right,
I'm
thanks so much.
glad the project's still on.
Very much so. I want that house.
Yeah.
I want to have you all over for dinner when it exists.
That's great. All right.
Thanks, Alex.
Okay. Okay, do we have anything else? Kim, anything you want to discuss, or?
No, again, just to, again, remind you, you know, if you do have any questions for upstate down, you know, or any application, but, you know, a lot of times with interpretations and stuff, there's a lot of legal questions. So we are available, Brandon Lyons is available to you for attorney-client meetings if you have any legal questions.
I would like to have, for myself, because it is a little complex, and there's a lot of
Sure.
factual issues and interpretation.
In the past too, what we've done too is we've kind of provided you at least a memo
Right.
addressing what the legal issues are. So we can provide that to you before the next meeting too. And then if you want, we can, so attorney-client meetings are not subject to open meetings law, so you can have them on Zoom, because we're just giving you legal advice. So just letting you know that's an option too.
Okay.
Okay, I think I may ask that we have that.
Sure, yeah.
The other thing is I think we should go out there and take a look and see, get a look-see of what's inside the building. I want to see what's going on there. So,
I'll do that.
I think that's an important thing to do. And then we'll talk about, site inspections on the other two applications. I guess we'll wait until the public hearing meeting.
Yeah, so we want to go to the site visit, though. Who's going to coordinate that?
I think
Next weekend,
Send
when
you-
you're gone.
I'm gonna, the next couple of weeks are tough. I'm thinking tomorrow, so I'll be off trial next week. So it would have to be kind of probably the week after, the
I
first
would
week in
be able
November.
to do it till the first week in November.
So maybe we'll go for the first week in November to go out there.
That's fine. First
Does
week
that
of
sound-
November sounds good.
I'll send you everybody's contact info and all that.
Yeah. And then I guess the four of us will go out.
Do you want to do a weekend for you? Is that?
Weekend would be better, but I mean, yeah, weekend would be better.
6 in the evening or something?
Or 6 in the evening, something like that. Unlike, well, you're still working. Unlike
Well,
this.
I'm okay. 6 in the evening is starting to get dark. It's the only thing. It will be dark by then.
Yeah.
But I'm good on Saturday. Let's try and keep it out of Sunday.
Yeah, that'd be
If we can.
good. Yeah, no, that'd be fun.
Okay, Saturday's good.
And I would just ask to, you know, with the drafting of the resolution, as I mentioned, I always want it to be in your words. You know, because it just as it always has been. So like I said, when you do your site visit or, you know, just give me a call, let me know what you observed on the site visit. And then I'll draft a resolution for your circulated resolution, and if you have any comments or additions to add, you know, please feel free to do so.
Is there a contact person on the interpretation?
We'll do the, you know,
mean, I'll probably-
yeah, for
You
that
guys
one,
are gonna do
everyone
the
can kind of, yeah, we usually do the resolution, but that's why with that, you know, as I was explaining to Delise and Victoria, I want you guys to, we'll do the deliberations.
Right.
And so I guess if there's any if you guys, Richard kind of, and everybody kind of gave little deliberations about, oh wait, there was no public hearings except for, so there hasn't been a public hearing yet. So maybe at the next meeting for Fixler and
Right. We could talk about
LaPlante, just
Fixler.
give me some of your opinions on where you're leaning, and I'll use those in drafting up the resolutions.
For
What is
Fixler?
the?
For Fixler and LaPlante, because those will be public hearings
Right.
next meeting. So just, you know, I know you guys usually do the site visits after,
I
but
like
just
to,
just
yeah.
give your, just, if you could just be mindful to, after the public hearing, give me just some of your initial thoughts so that I can take those into consideration in drafting the resolutions for your review.
But not before the public hearing.
Yeah, I mean, you can give them to me now, but you kind of mentioned some of them. I took notes tonight and so.
But on the upside down, really, the primary thing we need to think about in the interpretation is whether we think those two pop-up events constituted.
I think the first, for upstate down, what I would say are your initial questions are, what is the use variance granting? Commercial use, restaurant use, that's one question.
You mean one or the other?
I mean, I think,
Or can it be commercial?
The way it reads, if you read through it, we talk about commercial use, and then we become more specific and talk about the restaurant. So it was not as well phrased as it should have been. It was pretty expansive when we talked at the beginning of the resolution. And as we get to the meat of it, we know we're talking about the restaurant. I know that's what we were talking about, but
So one question is to determine what the use variance granted. You know, and we can, you know, that might be a question you may have.
that's a legal question.
And then the other part of it is to determine if the pop-up events, you know, if, for example, if it was a restaurant, if you decided the use variance was granted for a restaurant use, did the pop-up events constitute a restaurant use to keep that commercial use going? Or, you know, was it a commercial use that was still?
And I don't remember this, did they do anything before the pop-up events? Because assuming that we have an expansive commercial use, and it's more than just a restaurant,
I
believe.
believe it was, from my reading of the materials, it was just the September 2020.
That was the first.
2020.
So they didn't have any
Was the
art
first.
things there or some other kind of
Right.
potential
Correct,
commercial
that's
activity
my
that might come.
understanding. So I would say it's like a two-part question. One is to determine what the use variance granted. Sorry, I would say it's really a three-part. One is what the use variance granted. Two is if the proposed use is within what the use variance granted. And three is if the pop-up event kept the use variance going. Those would be the three questions that I think are for your consideration.
So do we each come up with our own thought on that, or should we be discussing that
I
more
would
right
say,
now?
no, I would say, I think, you know, you've gotten a lot of information from tonight and before the meeting with the information that I sent on the minutes. And so I would just take your time, read those, let it kind of percolate, and then at November's meeting, if you could kind of think about what you said. I'll draft up a memo
Yeah.
kind of addressing what the
Okay.
legal issues
Yeah,
are
that'd
to
be helpful.
consider.
Yeah.
And I think it would also be helpful, at least for me, to have a attorney-client meeting before the next meeting, after we've had a chance to get through all the information we have.
That would be good.
Yeah, we'll do it sometime between this meeting and the next meeting.
Yeah.
We'll set up something.
Thank you.
Okay, great.
All right,
Yeah.
has everybody had enough?
Yes.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Stay here by yourself. All right.
Thank you.